Now then, this is the continuing saga of the Honda CRV fuel pump and fuel gauge. If you remember, I hit a stump, it pushed the fuel tank back a little bit, and then the fuel gauge isn't working. Now, the wiring for the fuel gauge doesn't hang down. It comes out of the top of this fuel tank at that socket there, and then it goes across to what I would call the sill. I think the Americans call it a rocker, and then internally it goes forward. So I'm just thinking now, actually, when we're talking about this, there is some wiring behind the tank, and I'm wondering if something on the can system is shorting out. So yeah, we just opened up another line of thought. Anyway, before we get that far, we took the pump out of my spare car and put it in this. No change apart from the car still ran, and the car ran and the fuel gauge worked with this pump and fuel gauge assembly. Right, okay, I think we're all back on track now. In that socket there are 5 connections, okay, and I want to find out which ones are for the sender unit. Now it looks like we've got, where are we? We've got 2 to the motor there, focus, 2 to the motor there, 2 to the sender unit there, and that extra one down there, which I'm not sure what it's about. Do you know, I'm thinking if the tank was pushed back and it damaged some wiring behind, has it affected the, mind you, it's 2006, so I don't think it has CAN on it, so we'll ignore that then. Maybe it's affected an earth somewhere. Anyway, what I want to do is first of all check the resistance of that and to see whether it works, and secondly find out where those wires go. Yeah, so that'll be interesting for everybody. Okay, so let's get a bit of paper, and we've got the multimeter, and let's crack on. Right, stick the meter on continuity. It is on continuity, and go for that yellow one there. Okay, middle at the top. There's 3 in a line and 2 in a line. So we've got that one, which is yellow. Trying to write with my left hand. And then this earth, this black one, okay, is that one there. Okay, so the far left and the middle, when you're looking at the socket in the top of the pump, and then the actual, the pump itself, okay, is there. Yeah, so the 2 bottom ones are the pump. Sender unit, pump, extra black one that goes down the bottom somewhere. Right, so now we need to find out what the resistance of the sender unit is. Okay, so we'll stick this multimeter on 200 ohms, and across there and there. At the moment is 132 with it empty, and it goes up to 12 when it's full. 132 and 12, so that works. So that whole lot worked. Okay, we know that. I suppose you really ought to see that, didn't you? There you go. And that's the float all the way up. And that's all the way down. 132. Okay. Better write that down. Okay. Now we've isolated where the sender unit wires are. This is on voltage. Okay. We've got no volts there at all. Well, it's a ghost voltage, 0.3. Right. Okay. So there's no point plugging that other one in, because it doesn't work. Because it does work, but this wire is all wrong. Okay, so we've lost the voltage there. Yeah, just try that again. I doubt if you'll be able to see that, but there's a ghost voltage there of virtually nothing, 0.02, and those are the right two wires. Right, let's plug this in. I'm looking at the right, let's just switch the ignition off, forget off, and switch it back on. No. Okay, let's switch it off. Alright, this is a bit tricky. Hopefully, and I can't really see because the camera's in an odd place. Okay. Down here, let's zoom down a bit. There we go. It's at the top. Right, we're there. That is the cover taken off that plug. Yeah, which took a bit of doing. That third pin on the top row doesn't go anywhere, so that's interesting. Now, I've got a couple of sewing pins here, so hopefully let's see if there's a voltage on that. And those two are the sender unit. I doubt if I'll be able to get you to see the... Yeah, there's no voltage there at all. Yeah. Okay. So with it plugged in, there's no voltage there. When I plugged it in and then I switched the ignition on, you heard the pump run. So there's some sort of CAN system working there, or some sort of sensor anyway. So we don't have a voltage. I think, you know, with all the experiments we've done so far, we can safely say that there's nothing wrong with that unit in there. Yeah, so now we've got to start looking at the wiring. But the wiring, let's just zoom out a bit. I don't know whether I can get to see this or not, but there, the wiring comes along here, and this plastic cover comes off, and then it goes forwards. So is there a safety feature somewhere in here? But then the pump wouldn't work either, because I did find the impact, or whatever you call it, fuel shut-off valve, and that might be an interesting one to show people. I think they call it inertia switch. So if you hit something really hard, then the inertia switch switches off and switches the fuel pump off. Fair enough, but you've got to know where it is. And in these, it's behind the glove box and towards the centre of the car, tucked away, and it's a black unit about so big, with a rubber dome on the top, and you press that. But of course that would stop the pump working as well. So yeah, people who fell trees and leave high stumps because they're either too lazy or have been getting involved in too many beer and pies, so there's something in the way for them bending down. Never mind. Right, okay, that's the end of this little short update. Okay, wiring diagrams. If you see, this is BMC, British Leyland, and look, yeah, you can see where the bits are. Okay, you can even see the battery in the earth, and I am assuming that's a dynamo, but it might not be, but I think it will be. And you've got a list. Okay, so you can cope with that. Yep. Right. Now, let's have a look here. Yeah. This is about as clear as mud. Typical powered windows, and that's just for the powered windows. And I went back to up the front here, and you go, what? Nowhere on any of this have I found a fuel pump. Not at all. No. It just goes ECU and stuff like that, and then it goes off. Okay, but what I did find is there a fuel gauge sender. So you've got BY, which is black yellow, yeah, and then black, and then it goes to E5. Let's just zoom down on that, and that is Earth 5. There we go. So Earth 5. Now where on earth is Earth 5? Hopefully there's going to be a list. Well, that's what I was thinking. And actually we were quite lucky, because somewhere in here we go. Key earth points. Only key ones, not all of them. Yeah, so E5 is the left hand side of the transmission tunnel. Okay, so that's a prop shaft tunnel, because this is an opposed engine, so it's transverse, so the gearbox is right up the front, so it'll be the prop shaft tube. Yeah, so if we need to find E5, it's somewhere in the middle, left hand side of transmission tunnel. But I think the first thing to do is to go back to the pump, and what we're going to do, we're going to check that both of those blacks, and where's my list? Here we are. So that's a black from the sender unit, and that's on the line of 3, but 1 is not used. And then the pump, one of them's a black. So check both of those blacks are direct to earth with continuity. Yeah, I'm hoping that from the sender unit, the earth is faulty, but there's only one way to find out. Right, let's crack on. Okay, now look, there's a little clip there. This is how to get to the wires. Undo that little clip. Then there's a little clip here. So those two, and then go round some more on this side, and there's a third clip, and then that hinges back. Okay, so according to my diagram, or my homemade wiring diagram, that one there should be an earth, and that black there, which is, yeah, that's on the 2 points, and this is on the 2 but with 1, the 3 but with 1 not used. We want to just check continuity for that. So we got the meter set on continuity. Does it work? Yes, it does. There's a rubber seal there, so let's just, now we don't want to damage the contacts, so, well, that earth is fine because we've got continuity, and it's on the same side. Okay, so both of those earths are good, which sort of blows my theory out the window. Never mind, what we're going to have to do is go away and think about the next test we can do. That's a bit disappointing, really. Anyway, when I get a correct diagnosis, I will get back to you. Take 3. Okay, a bit of bonus footage here. When I put that plug back together from testing the earth, I noticed that the earth pin of the sender unit was loose in the housing. So I clicked it back in there. So that's one thing. And that might have been like that all the time. Yeah. And then a good bash has made a bit of a duff connection, not a connection at all. So then me taking that apart and noticing that the earth pin was loose in the plug body and putting it back in has made it work properly. Okay, so that's one thing. And the other thing is, when you put the, this is why I'm showing you this bit in the manual, there's a little line on the pump there cast into the top. Very difficult to well, it's not that difficult, but it's not obvious. But the worst thing in the world is there are 2 lines there on the tank itself. Then, you know, when you've got a tank that old, you just can't see them. You've really got to clean it quite well to find these 2 really quite indistinct marks, and that has got to be within that. And the reason why I realised that the pump was not in the right place is because when I switched the ignition on, the fuel gauge moved, but it didn't move very much. And I thought, so we've sort of fixed it, but not properly. Yeah. And then I went back to the manual and then dug around and cleaned the area of the tank down in that recess there. And lo and behold, let's go and have a look. And there it moves. Yeah, so previously it wouldn't move at all, and then we got it to move to about the middle of the nought. Down, you can't see, but the middle of the nought. Down there, from there, so it moved a bit. Now we've adjusted the position of the pump in the tank, and we've got, oh deep joy. So it was a I think it was a pre-existing earth pin fault that was working, and then it got a serious bash and it just sort of came that extra bit loose. So clicking it back in place into the plug body, that's it. Just mind-blowing, these sort of things. A friend of mine was telling me about one of his Fords, a Ford Granada, and he was having problems with fuel gauge. And what happened was, this was on those earlier cars, that sort of era, part of the whole display, it was all mounted on a flexible printed circuit board. And what he found, you know, huge amount of investigation, sort of an hour here, an hour there, and a week later you'd be spending an hour on it, and this and that, and there was a fine crack in the track on that flexible circuit board. So he scraped it back and put a dab of solder across it. Lo and behold. But you've got to go through, you've got to be fairly methodical about it and just sort of weasel it down to. And this one, I was going, I think that earth, the E5 earth is bad, and lo and behold, it's just a pin fitment. Anyway, there you go. Whoopee, it's done. Cheers for now.